Welcome back to another episode here on Mentorit TV, where we are trying to pick the greatest brains, their visions, their experiences, to share them with you, and in that way mentor you a little bit in how they live their life and what you may or may not apply in your own. At the moment, we have the COVID-19 crisis, so we do have our mini-series, COVID-19 from Crisis to Creation. And today I have a very special guest. He's not only a special guest, a special man, but also a very special friend of mine for over 20 years. Lorenzo Fasola Bologna. He is the owner of Castello, Monte, Vibiano, Vecchio in Umbria. What is that? Well, apart from being an amazing castle, as you can imagine, on the top of a hill, he is one of the most important and biggest olive oil producers, wine producers, as well as balsamic or vinegar producers. And not only is he a true entrepreneur, but he is really courageous. He's got his visions, he puts his money where his mouth is, and he was also, in 2010, the first agricultural business in Italy to go zero CO2 emission, one of the very first one in that sector worldwide. And he really is pushing for the entire climate issue when it comes to agriculture. And Lorenzo, it is such a pleasure to have you here on Mentorit TV. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for letting me be here. It's an honor. And thank you. We are changing our world because now everything is from home. So all the world is from home. But I think we have to start to be ready of a big change of what was before. Probably it will be difficult. It will come back, or at least it will come in a completely different way.
Yeah, let's try to kind of break it down a little bit. Exactly that. We will see a different world. We had the, pre-COVID and the post-COVID. Let's talk about the Italian industry in general, and especially when it comes to the agricultural business, how important it is for the entire economy, and what sort of position it takes when it also comes to being very much driven by export.
Well, I think that if you think about Italy, we were an agriculture country. Mm-hmm. And we became, let's say, only lately, if you think about the history of our country and in industrial. But this COVID probably let us completely see in a different way what is the agriculture. I mean, now that we are forced to be at home, you see that all the 60 million Italians are becoming 60 million chefs. And everyone is enjoying trying to cook. Me too, of course. Otherwise, I think if you don't start cooking, you would be starving. But apart the joke, the fact is that we are in a situation that we can appreciate much more how amazing is the food. And in Italy, I think we're very privileged because it's the climate, is the soil, is whatever. We have an amazing how do you say, the materia prima, my English is perfect. But,
no, absolutely. You do have good ground products.
Yeah, so if you start from the soil, the raw material of mm-hmm. what you need to make a dish, a plate, or a meal is amazing. And starting from Sicily, going up to the north. And what is beautiful is that you have got so many little kind of product that is only coming from a little village or little city or a region. And then you see that you have so many different, and the raw material is amazing. So what I personally see is that in the future, we are not going anymore in quantity, but we're going on quality. Mm-hmm. And we can discover in this period what is really the quality. So probably less is going to be about more. More is about quality and less is about in quantity. Now, that's the way I see it.
Yes, but let's drill a little bit deeper, because if you think about it, quality out of Italy has always been made in Italy. It is a brand in itself. So I was never under the impression that, Italian olive oil, Italian wines, or any kind of fashion product, any kind of product coming from Italy would be lacking quality. Why do you think this is actually an opportunity, COVID-19, to go even more quality?
Because okay, before I think that people were always thinking, waking up in the morning, going try to make business and concentrate in something that food was the last part. Okay, you like to go in a restaurant, you like to eat well, but at the end, what is most important that we are feeding ourselves is something that was on the last page. So you prefer to have the best iPhone or the best telephone or the best iPad or whatever you want to have it that is material. Now probably you will look the same way that you would like to have this kind of material things, but you will concentrate much more in what is the food. And whatever before you were having inside, whatever it comes, I think people will start more thinking about what am I going to feed, and you are going to discover the really feeling of a great meal. Whatever, probably you're not going to eat 3 times a day sometimes, but whenever you're going to eat, you're going to eat in the best way possible.
Well, that's interesting. So the consciousness about what you put into your body and how it is sourced as well. Tell me a little bit about that. So you have the consciousness that maybe food is not just something you kind of like you fill your belly with, but it needs to be healthy, good for you. But also in terms of quality, how do you define it in your particular sector of olive oil?
Okay, the olive oil, I think, is like the wine. No? You can find a bottle of wine from €3 up to thousands of euros. And the olive oil you can find from €3 to €200, €300, whatever. What is really that makes the difference? Okay, the difference is made by many things, but start from the soil. So the way you treat the soil, and that's why we can talk about the environment, because the environment is the first part of the quality. Because when you gave to the soil the best air possible, so they breathe the purity of the air, that's the starting process of the process. So the soil has to be pure, has to be in this way ecological, no? Then after how you treat, whether if it could be olive trees, how you treat the vine, how you treat tomatoes, how you treat whatever, it's important that the quality is starting from the environment, and then after all you come. Then after, for example, with the olive oil, once you have the best raw material, is how you treat it. So it's also important the machine you're using, is the time that you pick the olives, you press them immediately. And actually, you know, that we invented the frozen olive oil, that we pick the olives, we press them, we bottle, and we freeze it all in the same day. So you have all year round the freshness of the product. And I think that the people that have never had the chance to go in an olive mill and see coming out, you know, the pressing olives, and immediately with the bruschetta in the shelf of any kind of supermarket store, you cannot have this kind of quality, not because probably that olive oil is not a high quality, but because the problem is that the olive oil, after 1 day, actually after 1 hour, is already starting the process of becoming aged, which is the opposite of the wine. Yeah. The wine you need to wait many years, but the olive oil. So imagine that you pick these olives, you go straight to the mill, you press them, and you put it in a little bottle of olive oil, of like a 10 ml, like a single portion, and then after you freeze it. So freezing, you stop the process of aging of the olive. So when you defrost, a little bottle is like in 10 minutes, 15 minutes, you have the same sensation of having the olive oil that is coming from the mill. For example, we are very lucky because here in the garden we have the tomato. Unfortunately, it's not the time yet, but when it will be July, August, you have these tomatoes. Actually, it's called Mercatello DOP, which come from 2 kilometers away from our Monte Vibiano village. Yeah. And in the summer, when you start having this one with the mozzarella di bufala, and you put this olive oil on top, it's a sensation that when I was a kid, I was not able to have it because the tomato is in the summer, the olive oil starts October, November. So I never had the chance to have these two products combined together. Yes. And now, fortunately, this is like a little example of how quality and how things, little touch can make a difference in a plate or in a food.
Yeah, well, that you also touching on something I want to talk to you about as well, which is like food and technology. Now, food tech in general, and how you can really look after the produce right from the get-go. But I think what you're also referring to, if I hear you right, is quality equates also an experience of food. Because I remember when I visited you at your Castello, that was exactly it. You took me to the presses. You showed me how olive oil is pressed, and it came out. It was green as, and it like my wall in the back. Actually, it's very much like the color that I remember. And the entire experience, the culinary experience, was very, very different indeed. And that will be, apart from the quality, also more of a value, you think, after a health threat, a health crisis, that people will become more aware that this is something important to have, maybe even on a daily basis.
Absolutely. And actually, you are touching something that it's probably what is going to happen after, hopefully soon, the coronavirus pandemic is experience. No, so people, I think, in the future they want to live an experience, and wherever you are in each part of the world. And I think Italy, it's a country that is very lucky because in half an hour you can go in a completely different kind of from the mountain to the seaside. So it's variegated, and you can have a lot of different opportunity to visit part of Italy. But the experience is that I think that the people that are going to go more and more where is an open space. So in Italy, you have so many little villages where you don't have so much tourists, and you have so much opportunity to go and visit producer that can be producer of honey, producer of jam, producer of ham, producer of olive oil, producer of wine. And the beautiful is that people would like to walk, to stay in the nature, and the experience is going and see the history, the view, and also the fact that you want to know any kind of product that you're having. Could be not only food, but especially in this case of food, how is it made and where it comes from.
Yes.
And this is, I think, a huge opportunity for every single country in the world to make sure that people understand what is, where it comes from, yes, whatever. And this is a new trend of, let's say, tourism that will come for sure. And that's why I think that people, when they go home, they want to take part of their experience and share it with not only with family, but also with friends.
You know, let's take the businessman now, Lorenzo Fasola Bologna. If I look at, for example, we just now had the unemployment numbers, jobless numbers coming through in the US. Now, in 4 weeks of COVID crisis, we have over 22 million people fighting for a job. Now, the US amongst the UK as well, but the US is amongst the main import countries or export countries for the Italian food products, fashion products in general. Let's stay with food and agriculture. Now, all of this quality driving, all of this, going back to basics when it comes to producing also the food, costs money, looks for investment, is something that you have to have a viable business. At the moment, Italy, economically speaking, is a bit in dire straits, to say the least. How do you see that going forward?
Okay, first of all, I think that we are entering in something that is very complicated to find a solution. I would like to answer with something that you think I'm quite crazy, but I would like to give an example with the most famous game that probably when we were kids we used to play, which is called Monopoly.
Monopoly.
Monopoly, it is probably teaching us that the future now, this month, next month, is probably the best economy example of how we can have part of the solution of a big crisis. So Monopoly is like when you're coming to go, no? You started, you used to have like 20 euros. And why you need to have these 20 euros? Because without the 20 euros, you couldn't buy the houses.
Yeah, your capital.
So you don't have the money.
Investment capital.
So now it's a little bit simple, but I think that we are getting to this kind of game to come out from this crisis, because if the economy, or let's say the people, they don't have the money, So they don't pass to go at monopoly. They cannot buy the food. They cannot go and buy the houses. So this is an economy that you need to have consumers. If you don't have consumers, money will not move and it's finished. And I think that these 2 months of coronavirus is like we lost 2 months of the GPD.
Yes.
It's over. And it's not something, okay, you can have it back. No, you cannot. This is over. And you are creating, unfortunately, a huge risk of many companies that cannot afford anymore to have employed. So you risk that even in Italy, I don't want to say numbers that are stupid, but you risk like 10 million people will lose the job because they cannot afford. So now we come from Marshall 19 after the Second World War. So all the injection of money was to start again to have the economy.
Yes.
So I think that Europe has got a unique opportunity, to show to Europe itself, to all the countries, that we are going to be solid, not only with Italy, France, and Spain, that now we are in worse situation, but solid to ourselves. And I think that probably get a percentage of the GDP of every single country. You need to print money, so lend money, but without creating debt. Because if you give money to someone that have to give it back, you are asking money because you don't have it, and you will not be able to repay. So once forever, you need to give money to every single country. And I think if you start thinking like 2-3% of the GDP of the past year is something that you are creating consumers and you start again. And I think that if Europe are going to do like this, we are going to create that Europe is really like a one nation. If we are starting to fight country without country, whatever, we are risking that some country are going to go alone. Italy starting to create the lira again. Probably you don't call it lira again, but they will start printing money like Italy used to do very well for many decades. But then after, probably to start to create an Italian alone, helping each other, the tourism, all the Italian going in Italy, buying Italian cars and all these things. And Italy is in a certain way, but also other countries, but has got a beautiful opportunity, like you have 70% of the heritage of the humanity of culture and whatever. And you have the food, you have a lot of things that you can start like from scratch. And it's a pity if Europe is not all together and you leave this country, France, Spain, Italy, to be all alone. This is what I'm worried, and I don't know, not because I'm Italian, but I think that not because I had the luck once to meet him personally, but a person like Mario Draghi, being the president of, I don't know, coronavirus emergency, is a person that, for me, is the best economist I know, but not only because personally, but a person that I think is fantastic. And he also is so humble and a person that could be able to put all together, because I'm worried that we're starting like to have argue, fight or whatever, and we don't understand probably altogether that this is something that nobody ever seen.
Yes, and I think this is, you were saying that I'm worried that they're going to start fighting amongst each other, amongst the European Union members. They are already fighting. I mean, we had all the conversation with regards to the Corona bonds or new Euro bonds or whatever, and it doesn't look too good. And of course, with Conte threatening even to leave the European Union, is not boding well, because of course we have Brexit, we have other fractions in Hungary. So I think the tendency at the moment is more to go towards protectionism, fractioning off rather than collaboration. But putting this kind of movement and your worries together with looking at what each individual country in Europe really has to offer on a global basis, be it the industry, the car industry, for example, in Germany, or the food, the fashion industry, and also the car and energy industry in Italy. I mean, Italy is, it has a very, very wide variety of different products. You would wonder if you really look at it instead of just going, okay, Germany produces this, Italy that, to say, okay, our heritage and what we can offer to the world economy needs to be looked at together. And with this kind of vision, a collaboration might be easier.
When you're talking about politics, you have to put everyone in a certain way happy, and there are compromise. But sometimes compromise are creating even bigger problem, and sometimes you have to go straight to the point and go and make it. And I think that every day that is, how do you say, that we don't make a decision, the situation is getting worse. So for example, now there is something that probably you tell me that I'm crazy, but since we are working with many airlines and many first class, we serve our single portion olive oil. And of course, this is a very affected market that they are not flying. So I think that also one thing that the government, the IATA, and all the airlines together and all the airports, they need to find immediately a solution to make tests to all the passengers. Because I think that if the passenger could be sure that on a plane, nobody has got the coronavirus, people will start flying immediately.
Well, that was actually the sector I wanted to discuss with you a little bit, because looking at your business model, you're one of those very fortunate ones that has, for example, Emirates as one of your clients for over 20 years. They've been with you as a happy client, I guess, for the olive oil in business and in first class. Then you have the cruise ship business, you have trains, you have any kind of transport and leisure where you can provide and supply your wonderful olive oil and all the other products you're producing. How much, I mean, I just read the IATA's latest report that they expect passenger turnover to be down about 55% for 2020. How much does that impact the demand side of Monte Vibiano?
Okay, right now we are almost dead in the sense that, so Monte Vibiano is a company that is serving the top hotel, the top restaurant, the top airline, cruise line, and I mean, whatever, yeah, in the trip, but whatever you're talking about, transport sector, we are in. Yes. So now it's all lockdown, so for us is a disaster. But even in this kind of moment where you see the hugest crisis, I think that there is also a way to understand what was your defect and where the future will take you.
So as I heard from you right now, you said, look, I look at Monte Vibiano and my business, and I do realize, yes, I was one of the lucky ones to have the big names such as Emirates as my clients. And I provide my products, which is luxury, to the luxury sector. However, now the luxury sector is dead. The leisure sector is dead. Traveling is dead. So my business is dead. So I was perhaps overexposed, and I need to be a little bit closer to the consumer to just diversify my business. And that is a learning that you can, as an entrepreneur, share, as somebody in your sector, you can share that.
What can I say? I only hope that this coronavirus will finish as soon as we can. Mm-hmm. And I think that everyone has got a lot of time to think about what is the value of this life and what is also your goal and what you like. And I think that we should also try to do whatever is our passion.
I think what you're saying, Lorenzo, is so true and so beautiful because, in my mind, I think that happiness is not consumption, but creation. So when you say, I walk out in my garden and I see the olive trees and some of them are over 500 years old, and I'm doing this because out of this tree, there is an olive, and with this olive, I'm going to do the most amazing olive oil, which is just highest quality, and it is healthy and everything, and it makes you happy. This is exactly the chain. Great stuff. Thank you so much, Lorenzo.
Thank you.
I could talk to you for hours, and I'm sure the Mentorate TV community would love to listen to it. But I think in terms of the man behind Monte Vibiano and Lorenzo Fasola Bologna, we are going to have another session together, which is going to be super exciting. So thank you so much for your time to be with us here today.
Thank you, Patricia, and looking forward to see all of you in Monte Vibiano whenever you want.
On my way.